Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges, and subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And if you like this show, go give us that 5-star review. I'm always asking. I need it.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA. You can learn the criteria by reading it at abcboxing.com.
Dan, this was a card that I'm kind of glad is in the rear view, just because it wasn't the most attractive card, I think, on paper. I think it ended up being overall reasonably solid, and I think it wasn't like a weak one, but I think on the whole, for pay-per-view money, it was still just one that I was like, man, I'm going to pay this much money for this?
Yeah, ponying up $75 for this one. When you knew what you were going to get in the main event, regardless of how the lead-up was, it stung a little bit.
And don't forget, we're paying tax on that $75. It's really $80.
Yeah, it's like what, 79 and change?
Yeah. It's close to $80 at this point. So yeah, let it sting just a little bit more. I actually made a much more pleasurable purchase after the event, because I saw a Mario game that I've had my eye on was on sale for only $40. Mario games do not go on sale very often. And so yeah, I think of the two, that one was cheaper and will last me longer and will probably bring me more joy than having to watch Colby Covington do anything,
likely.
Especially when he's succeeding.
Well, I like actually watching Colby fight because I think he's a very good fighter.
He's a very good fighter, but I don't necessarily want him to succeed at it. Like, that's fine, but it'd be nice if maybe like he could do what he just did and then throw the illegal knee and then lose.
He wasn't going to do that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, something like that would have made me happy. But just go the Peter Yan route.
That's it.
Give a fight up that you were winning. But yeah, I mean, this fight, it was about, I think you summed it up pretty well, actually. Why don't you say what you said to me just before about this fight?
This fight, what did I say about it?
You what you said about this fight being kind of what you thought it would be.
Oh, this fight, I was very upset that this fight went exactly how I thought it would go.
Yeah, I like that.
Really, I mean, the most exciting parts were the beginnings of the round, at least for the first two rounds, before Jorge Masvidal was complete toast.
He did have the moment in round 4, at least. That was pretty exciting. But like by then, you could just tell he really wasn't able to capitalize anymore. Like, he landed it, but I don't think he could will his body to do what needed to do to follow up.
Kind of felt like he was never in the fight. Like, especially he came out with the typical, ever since he knocked out Ben Askren, let me try to do this again.
I don't think he was serious about it. I think what he tries to do is open people up by going that way and then seeing what they do and then try to do something off it. That's what I think he's doing. Yeah, but I don't know.
After that, it felt like once he, felt the wrestling in that first round, like his will was just broken.
Yeah.
And we just didn't get what he was saying all week at all. Until after the fight, of course. But
I think maybe it took longer than that for his will to be broken, so to speak. But yeah, I do think that there's a degree of that in there. And I do think he'd eaten a lot of damage by the time in round 4 where he actually did hurt Colby with that, what was it, right? The right-handed punch?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like right
hook.
Right hook.
I thought it was a hook.
Snapped his head around, dropped him, but Colby recovered him instantly. So
yeah, I don't know that he recovered instantly. I think what happened was he was on the back foot, like trying to recover, and again, Masvidal really he couldn't make his body do what probably needed to be done, which was to keep pouring it on.
And
he just couldn't do it, and that allowed Colby to get back to it, and then he was just fine. He obviously won that round 4. No debate there. So we're not even going to talk about that round, other than we just did.
We did. We just talked about it.
We did just talk about it. But it is what it is. That fight's behind us. We're never going to see that rematch. That will never ever happen.
Please no.
In a million years. But what do you do now with Covington and Masvidal, respectively?
Well, really, Covington and Usman are the top of the heap at welterweight. I think winner of Chimaev and Burns will be a very good matchup for Covington. I think Luque would be a fun matchup. Edwards would be a fun matchup. Don't want to see him against Bilal Muhammad. I think that would be very one-sided in Colby's favor. As far as Masvidal, maybe you run back Chiesa. I don't know.
I don't think we need to keep seeing Jorge Masvidal go against these wrestle types. Like if you're,
well, he already beat him too. So
especially if the UFC is paying the money to, they're paying a lot of money now to Jorge Masvidal. Why would you pay to see him against wrestlers anymore? He's not going to fight for the belt. You just want to put him in fights where he's actually going to excite people and make them want to watch. Like, why would you do that? Unless you just don't want to pay him anymore and you find a way out of the contract. That's the only thing I can think of. But
well, it has to be big money fights, really, because he just supposedly just signed a new contract.
That's what I'm saying.
So
who knows? They're calling it like top 5, top 3. That they don't give numbers. So who the heck knows? That's just made up numbers, made up words as far as I'm concerned. But
Conor McGregor would be fun.
You know what? That would be super fun. I think it might have been Ariel Helwani who said they should do that fight at the Garden this November.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? No, don't do it at the Garden because it's going to be $500 to get in the door. And I don't have $500 to get in the door.
You're just selfishly not wanting it to have too much of a draw there.
Oh. Give us a fight night there.
Save your money.
Give us a fight
Skip
night.
a pay-per-view along the way.
How am I going to do the show then?
I don't know. Maybe we'll go to a bar or something.
That's possible. Yeah, well, then we'll never get it good enough for you there. Way too many distractions.
What are you talking about? To score
to
fights?
score the fight, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. No,
Yeah.
But then we'll go to our friend's house
okay.
in Canada, which we'll bring up a little later.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know that I love the Burns Chimaev winner going against Covington next. I'm pretty sure that should be whoever's next in line after the Usman versus Leon Edwards fight. That sounds like it's going to be booked. So I'd rather that go happen. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to put Covington in there against one of them and then beat either Chimaev or Gilbert Burns, especially if it's Chimaev. Like, you want to knock off Chimaev before he fights Kamaru Usman?
Well, here's my thing. I think Covington is the welterweight version of Max Holloway, where he's always going to be in contention for that title. Whereas Max is always going to be in contention for that featherweight title. So
I don't know.
Just because he's lost twice, one which was super close, which I think we both scored for Covington.
Yes,
actually.
we did actually, and regrettably.
Like I really don't mind running that back. It's really up to Usman if he'd want a trilogy with that. And I probably doesn't.
I don't imagine there's going to be a trilogy fight with them unless like I think Covington's going to have to do a lot of work to get that fight. I think he'd have to clean out essentially everything behind him to get that fight.
I know, but he is just so cemented at number 1. I think someone would have to knock off Usman for him to not be number 1.
I'm trying to pull up really quick the UFC rankings at welterweight because I just want to see.
I have it up on my screen.
Well, I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
I don't have your screen.
I was gonna read it off for you.
That was very nice, but I can look myself,
okay.
Sir. Thank you. Vicente Luque and Bilal Muhammad, right? That's going on next. The winner of that actually at least does make some sense for Colby Covington because they're not going to get the next shot. Run them through it. That's okay.
But that's what I'm saying. Luque has a shot. I don't think Muhammad has it.
I think either one of them is realistically in the conversation still, but I think at the least you can kind of take that winner just because you definitely want, from a booking standpoint, Chimaev or Burns to come out of, especially if it's Chimaev. Again, that's the fight that's booked. It is what it is. They're not changing that at this point unless someone drops out, right? It's not. They would certainly, and when I say they, I mean of course the UFC. They would certainly not prefer Gilbert Burns beat Chimaev because I don't think they want to put Gilbert Burns in there next. If Burns wins. Yeah, I think you can put Gilbert Burns against Colby Covington, but I don't think you would do the same thing if it was Khamzat Chimaev. I just don't see it.
Okay, so this is your if then statement for the programmers out there.
I guess so, yeah.
If Burns wins, Burns fights Covington. If Chimaev wins, Chimaev fights Usman. And
let's say it is Gilbert Burns who comes out of that fight. I think the winner of Luque Muhammad then becomes the number 1 contender.
Right. Okay.
After Leon Edwards.
Okay.
That's what makes sense to me. I think this makes sense, right? Is that a reasonable plan?
So Poirier is out of the question. Like, there's no way we do Covington Poirier. That's just not happening.
I mean, if the two sides agree to it, it is probably a fight that can at least make some money, but it would be annoying.
I don't think Poirier didn't seem too interested on Twitter.
Well, he's also on vacation.
He said, "Why don't you call someone out in your own division?" I think he said that.
He did.
So,
which was funny because actually, right after Covington lost to Usman the second time in New York, he was saying how he didn't want to fight Dustin Poirier because he doesn't like to fight 155 pounders. He wants to fight 170 pounders. So obviously, there is stunningly involving Colby Covington. There's a little bit of kind of going back on what's said. You can't necessarily rely on what he said. He may not be being truthful to himself there. This might shatter some perspectives. And I'm sorry if your world has been rocked by the fact that Colby Covington might just say things and he doesn't mean, but that's kind of what it is.
Or we just fast track Shavkat and put him versus Covington right now.
Well, I'm a big fan of Shavkat Rachmanov, but I would like to see him take the more natural path, at least to a degree. Is he even in the...
He's 15.
I just closed it, of course. Should he even be 15 right now? I don't know. I'm not sure he's necessarily...
Just has a lot of hype. That's why
he's got a lot of hype. Well, yeah. I mean, the UFC, that's why the UFC rankings are stupid.
Yeah.
They're super, super stupid, actually. Sean Brady, interesting in there, too.
Sean Brady,
You love Sean Brady.
But
you love your CFFC guys.
Right, yes. But I think in a 5-round fight, Covington would absolutely drown him.
I mean, I don't disagree, but I mean, who knows?
3 rounds could be interesting.
But if he does somehow manage to get on top of Colby,
right,
that would be interesting to see what he can do in that scenario, because he is an excellent submission grappler.
I would like that to be like a co-main somewhere.
Okay.
For a 3-rounder.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Now they do 5-round co-mains apparently for non-title, even when
4-day notice.
It wasn't necessarily necessary in this case. Look, I actually like the idea of 5-round non-title, non-main event fights. I think it's a fantastic idea when used in the right times. I wasn't complaining about it before then. I also didn't think this was the fight where I'd be like, yeah, this should really have one.
You know, it makes sense that's why Greg Hardy and Spivak opened the card, because they just knew Greg Hardy wasn't getting out of the first, so they wouldn't be long on time.
I would like to think that's true for many, many reasons. That was pleasurable. That was a good thing. But I don't really want to talk anymore about Covington Masvidal than I have to. We will be talking about the 2 contested rounds, of course, from that fight. But real quick, you did want to mention something about Cage Warriors.
Yeah, I watched.
You were watching it.
I watched Cage Warriors Friday, and I found it very interesting that Herb Dean, Jason Herzog were judging fights as well as refereeing fights in San Diego.
Well, that'll happen. I mean, it's smaller shows, and no offense, Cage Warriors. It is, especially in the United States, it's a smaller show.
Right. I have no problem with the smaller shows doing double duty. I just found it awesome that these 2 guys were getting reps in the judges' chair. So
sure, absolutely. I mean,
Mike Beltran possibly as well. I don't recall his name being called, but he was refereeing that night as well.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Herb Dean has obviously judged fights before, and I know Jason Herzog has as well. I'm not as familiar with where or how frequently, but I mean, Herb is involved in training of officials too, so that's that is something that makes a lot of sense. But it is it's nice to see that they're getting more reps into, like you said. Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah,
just want to point that out.
All right, that was fun. It was fun little nugget for anybody at home.
Little nugget.
Yeah, but yeah, let's move on to another nugget. That's Colby Covington. That's an Owen Hart reference, by the way. Rest in peace, Owen.
Hal Haney did a nice commission, a 7-frame Owen Hart commission. If you follow Hal Haney,
I don't know who that is. I don't know who you're talking.
Really?
about.
Oh, he's an artist on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, you should go check him out.
There's another fun nugget.
Yeah.
You're just full of fun nuggets tonight.
I think Nugget's one of the pictures of him, actually.
But I am not a nugget. All right, let's move on. We got, like I said, we got contested rounds. We got so many contested rounds, Dan.
We got to get into it.
We got to get into this. And we will start with Colby Covington against Jorge Masvidal with scores 49-46, 50-44, and 50-45. Now, why are we starting with this fight where the judging really... I don't think anyone was sitting at home and wondering what the deal is with the judging. They weren't complaining. They didn't really care. I think a lot of people were semi-checked out of this fight by the end, other than that they paid a lot of money and they were going to stick around to the end to watch it. But the reason we have to talk about this fight is because of what happened during round 2, and not in the cage, but for the people sitting at home in the United States of America, the country which you and I live, Dan.
Yes.
Watching on ESPN Plus, which is the only way you can watch in the United States of America. And the feed goes out at 2:52 remaining in the round, while Herb Dean is in the middle of trying to stop the fight because of a low blow, but doesn't really succeed in stopping it for another 15 seconds, which they're fine. The fight does resume about 36 seconds of cage time later, so there's some time missed. 36 seconds amounts to 12% of a round, sir. Now, when this happened, I threw my hands up and I said, what the heck? What's going on with my control? I scrambled for my remote, and all of a sudden, by the time I'm figuring it out and I'm Googling it all, doing all these things, all of a sudden it's back. I'm like, all right, fine. But at this point, I can't score this round anymore. So I didn't score it, and I didn't think I could submit a score to MMA decisions as a result of it. I tweeted at the end, I said Colby won at least 4 rounds, which means he won the fight, obviously. But apparently it turns out I'm in the minority here, thinking I can't score a round like this. My own partner, sitting across from me, said, hey, I missed 36 seconds of the round. I'm going to submit a score to MMA decisions. How dare you, sir?
I prefaced it. I said, I'm scoring only what I saw. Because we lost a chunk, so I'm just going to score what I saw, pretend I was sitting cage side, and someone put a bag over my head for those 36 seconds. And then I came back, and then I scored it. And I also wanted my score in MMA decisions, because I'm new there, and I want to keep scoring there.
Sir,
So
that's a bunch of bull.
No.
I'm about to fight you. This might be the night where we break up.
Well, let's do it then.
Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be jits, like, because you'll beat me if it's just jits. Like, I'm going to have to use, like, foreign objects.
Well,
Although this is your home turf, so you know the foreign objects better.
I'm looking to see which foreign objects I don't want you to use.
Oh, that's true. I'm going to use all your Funko Pops, because then I know you won't do anything. You'll just cower. That is the perfect way to fight you. Just grab Funko Pops and pretend to use them as a weapon.
Yeah, that would be awful.
No. But yeah, so first off, shameful of you. But you're obviously not the only one. You are
the only one, sir.
I'm the only one who actually cares about
only
this.
One.
And but no, listen. Let me have my rant here, okay?
Okay.
You're not the only one who obviously did this. There are tons and tons and tons of scores for this fight on MMA decisions. And you can't possibly tell me that you know definitively who won round 2, which ended up being split among the judges. All right? If you want to say it was in the middle of a beatdown and you missed a little bit and we find out later, yeah, it was really nothing happened because he was still on top or something like that. You know, Colby was still on top or whatever. All right, fine. I get it. You can kind of make a certain assumption here. This was a round that was split among the judges. How can you sit there and actually put a score out there that says, I know what happened, it was enough? You missed 12% of the round. That's a lot of the freaking round. I'm not okay with that. So, to all the media members who submitted their scores, who are, again, I should say, this, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I can tell, only affected people in the grand land of the United States of America, where ESPN Plus is the only way to watch it. I don't believe it affected anybody internationally. So if you're in Canada, if you're in Ireland, certain people who I know are, if you're in England, my understanding is you probably got to watch the whole thing, and good on you. You could submit your scores just fine. But if you're sitting at home in, let's say, Texas or Washington or Pennsylvania or somewhere, I'm sorry, I can't tolerate. Or Jersey, this guy.
Our scores don't even matter.
I know. But no, here's actually why they do, sir. Because I've spoken to regulators before who actually look at MMA decisions.
Come on.
And then they say sometimes, look, definitely regulators that have some pull. We'll look at that.
I wouldn't even look at that.
Now, granted, this fight ended up not mattering very much. If you scored one way or the other, it was round 2 of a fight that just about every round was definitively Colby Covington. So it is what it is.
Even if they look at it, they're not getting the round by round breakdowns for media members anyway. So
no, I understand that, but even still, I just don't like the idea that fellow media members to myself are doing this. People that I would think should know better, and I was a little mad about that. And I'm mad at you.
Well, you be mad all you want.
That's fine.
I will submit my score every time.
No, I get it. But yeah, not a fan of that, and I will put that out in the world. So there's my little rant.
All right.
But anyway, we did happen to be able to watch this round later, and not because ESPN Plus decided to fix it and add it the next day, because no, sir, why would they do that? It is still an interrupted technical difficulties feed that is available to you even if you purchase this pay-per-view for $80, including tax. Next day, you still can't watch the uninterrupted feed.
Yeah. So maybe they should fix that.
So they really should. ESPN Plus, honestly, what the heck are you doing? What a piece of garbage service if you can't fix that. So Dan and I, we had to kind of pay a visit to our friend in Canada, who had a feed of this round. Just go with it. And we were able to watch round 2 later on to be able to then make Dan an honest man and be able to reinforce his score.
Vindication.
So Dan, now that whole preamble's out of the way, my rant's done, we understand how we were able to be able to watch this fight uninterrupted. What happens in round 2?
Round 2, from what everyone knows, Jorge lands a right hook to start the round. Covington covers it like, oh yeah, okay, make sure I cover that up next time.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Good thinking.
Covington fires some back. It's kind of just, dancing around for a bit. And then Jorge lands his best strike of the entire round, which is a solid leg kick. Moves the leg all the way across the center line. It's pretty good. Covington starts to wrestle a little bit, stuck against the cage. Gets hammered with some elbows while he's shooting for this takedown. And then he decides to knee Jorge low. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Herb stops the fight. Feed goes down.
It takes him a little while, like we said, to stop the fight. Because
he
intervenes at about like 2:57 to go in the round. Mm-hmm. And as we then find after the, because of the feed had stopped, we later do find at our friend in Canada's house that that the round kept going until what, 44 or 42?
44 was
44.
Where it finally stops the clock.
It took 13 seconds from the point that Herb Dean walks in and says stop to the point where the clock stops. And then it does resume at this point. So what is going on with the slowness of this stoppage? Like I don't like to jump all over Herb Dean with everything like some people do. Like sometimes there's things I don't really love.
It was a weird stoppage.
It wasn't a weird stoppage. It was like, call time if you're going to intervene. Like this is 12 seconds. It wasn't weird. It wasn't right. Like I'm sitting here saying it wasn't right.
He gets kneed low, and then it takes like 5 seconds for him to even step in.
No, but forget that.
That's the weird part about it.
But even when the time he steps in, he doesn't call time. He goes in. They stop fighting. They're not fighting right now, and 12 seconds goes by in a close round. A lot of things can happen. So I didn't really love that.
I don't know if that's totally on him or the timekeeper.
I don't know. I didn't see him do the timeout signal or say time. So he's got a signal to the timekeeper.
I don't know. I don't know the exact procedure.
Was it Steve Mazzagatti was the timekeeper at this point? I know Maybe. He was last night for at least part of it. So
I'd like to see that. He's still involved?
Yeah, he's still. Okay. I think he legitimately cares about the sport. He wasn't the strongest referee. I think we can say that pretty definitively, but
no one tell Dana White.
I'm pretty sure he knows. I think he knows everything that goes on in Nevada. But yeah. Anyway, you can keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, so they resume 244. Colby lands a right hand, and then Masvidal starts to clinch him a bit, and they clinch against the cage for a little while. And then when they separate, Masvidal lands a glancing elbow, which when now our feed comes back after this elbow lands, and Covington has a cut over his eye.
But how did he get that cut? How were you able to score that round when he had that cut, Dan?
It was. I actually when I watched it, I thought the elbows against the cage when he was shooting for the double before it was stopped. I thought that's what cut him originally.
I see.
But yeah, so and it's not really a bad cut anyway.
No. All right, finish up. What happens this round? Finish up.
Colby continues landing some good shots. Jorge does the thing. He sticks his tongue out, so it's a good shot that rocked him a little bit. Maybe not rocked him, but definitely hurt him. Colby capes with the pressure, gets a takedown, albeit brief, and they end on the cage as the round ends.
So how do you score this, sir?
I think it's a Covington round 10-9.
And you think so a day later too, right?
Yes.
After we got to view it in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah. I will agree with you. I think this is a Covington round. I think it's a very close round. I think it's certainly justifiable for Judge Junichiro Kamijo to go the way of Masvidal in this round, but we both sided with Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amato here. So yeah, I don't think it's a big issue. It obviously didn't affect the fight one way or the other in the grand scheme, but an early round like this, of course, still matters. Mm-hmm. So that is what it is. But then we move on all the way to round 5, and we're at this point only talking about an 8 versus a 9. So Dan, why are we talking about this as a potential 10-8?
I just want to say originally this
for Covington, of course.
Originally this wasn't going to be one of the top fights we talked about.
Yes,
this was lower in our outline, so it might not make as much sense as the way my
I see
the way my 10-8s progressed throughout the night.
Yeah.
Because my 10-8 compass is very off.
Mine is too. I will agree.
But this is one-way traffic the whole way. Colby is just smothering Masvidal. Masvidal's looking like he's got very little fight in him. Just completely, gassed. Completely overwhelmed in the grappling transitions to the point he's basically just tucking his chin and waiting for the bell to ring. Throwing a couple like, hey, look, I'm doing something punches. While Colby's landing good punches. Some of them were pretty good in the turtle position. I think it's a 10-8 because I think it's domination and duration. I don't think the damage is really there that highly, but I'm just going to go with how the criteria is written. If you can get 2 Ds without, I understand that the damage is now becoming somewhat of a requirement, But until that's put into writing, I got to go back to just how it's written on ABC Boxing, just so I can center myself as far as 10-8s go. So.
Sure, and I respect that. That at least makes some sense to me, the way what you're talking about. But I am at least doing my best to try and score it in such a way that the judges in Nevada and I guess as a result throughout the country and anyone else in the world who is trying to kind of mimic this new movement among judges where damage really has to be part of the 3Ds, and it may even be coming in an official capacity later this year. I do try to do that, and in that sense, yeah, because you really cannot check off damage in this round. I just don't think. So I did not score this as a 10-9. I think, yeah, if you go by the criteria, you can certainly say, hey, there's 2Ds checked off. In theory, that could make it a 10-8. And it is a lopsided round. I think this is a round that really ought to be a 10-8. So in that sense, yeah, I agree. But also, I just don't see them. Typically, officials are not going this way. I'm a little surprised Judge Derek Cleary went this way just because of that push. But I don't know. Maybe there's something we're not even catching on to just yet now. Maybe there's more leeway to give it in just two Ds not being damaged, or maybe even Judge Cleary perceived there to be enough damage in this round. I don't know.
Or it could help that Masvidal did nothing.
Masvidal does nothing. He doesn't do anything to prevent an 8 from happening in this round. So I guess there's that sense, but I don't know. It's a tricky thing. My compass, like you said, is very messed up on 10-8s and 9s right now as well. So I'm having a hard time trying to keep up with it. And I imagine, at least to some degree, judges are also a little frustrated by it too. So
yeah.
It's certainly a thing where I don't think any judges should be getting mad about any other judges giving out 8s or 9s. So if you're a judge out there who's watching the fights that are going on in Nevada and you're thinking that maybe one of these rounds ought to be an 8 and you think it's shameful or anything that they're not giving that score, maybe realize how difficult this job is. But that is there's a mic drop. There's a mic drop. But yeah, that was it for that one. And we, like you said, we did kind of rearrange the outline for this one. Maybe, hopefully, because we have so many rounds here, I think we'll probably have to go a little faster through than we have been, right?
Yeah.
I've been tangenting and stuff. I had a lot to talk about with that particular fight, but as much as we have a few split decisions on here, 3 that we're going to talk about next, I think we could probably get into them more naturally, right?
Yeah, we'll just...
Yeah, so let's start with Nicolay Negumereanu, who got a win over Kennedy Nzechukwu, split decision, and the weird scores of 29-27 twice and 29-27 the other way.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that too often. This is, of course, because of the point deduction to Kennedy Nzechukwu in round 3, a round that he would have won, but ultimately it was just a 9-9 round. So we're talking about splits in round 2 that came from the same judge. In this case, it is Sal D'Amato. So, Dan, round 1... what happens here? And then we'll figure out if we should side with Judge D'Amato or Judges Tony Weeks and Doug Crosby.
I mean, this round is quite the low output round.
Yeah.
And I think
it's like a very light heavyweight round. Okay. Because they are light heavyweight.
I think it's actually rather clear in Nzechukwu. How do you say it? Nzechukwu. He's landing strong jabs and straights and teeps to the body, and Negumereanu really doesn't land anything of substance until like the final minute, where he lands a couple of good right hands and turns it into like kind of a brawlish type thing. But I don't think it's enough to win the round. There's also really not much to score. Maybe cage side, these lands in the final like 45 seconds were the most impactful and effective in the majority of the judges' eyes. But from my perspective, I think it's an easy Kennedy Nzechukwu round. Nzechukwu round.
I know, it's a tricky one. In a round like this, I'm always willing to give all 3 judges cage side a little more leeway because, any of those strikes, especially at this weight class, maybe you're perceiving them landing heavier. There's a lot of information you can get from sitting cage side, of course, as we understand, at least secondhand. We've never done it ourselves yet. Maybe one day we'll get to Shadow. But yeah, I do think that the better case can be made, at least from our screen at home, for Nzechukwu to win this round. Again, I think it's still a little bit of a close round, but yeah, I went with Nzechukwu, you went with Nzechukwu, and that was also the score of Judge D'Amato. So, Dan, what does that mean for Judge D'Amato?
Oh, that's a Couchside Override. Haven't had too many of those.
No, we didn't have any last week, actually. I had that thought when we were putting that outline together, but brace yourself. This might not be the only one. Round 2, again, we're talking about the same judges split. 2 judges, Weeks and Crosby seeing it for Negumereanu, and D'Amato sees this for Nzechukwu. So why could it go one way or the other? What happens in round 2?
I'm kind of shocked at the way this one went, actually.
Yeah.
I thought this was kind of a crystal clear round for Nzechukwu.
Okay.
I mean, he does get clinched against the cage in Negumereanu. This was writing my notes for this fight was just a nightmare. My fingers were not used to going to these keys in that sequence.
You don't write a lot of Romanian, and
No.
I'm trying to remember exactly where Kennedy Nzechukwu is. An African nation of which I've forgotten, and I apologize.
He gets clinched and he's landing good knees to the leg. Actually, these knees are to the outside, and you see like Nzechukwu's knee kind of like going in and kind of buckling, but anything else was really nothing. When they're finally separated, and Nzechukwu's landing these really strong strikes, snapping the head all different which ways, busting up the nose. His nose is a mess. I just
doesn't look good.
Just think it's clear. I mean, I don't really see much of an argument to be made for Negumereanu.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you here. Honestly, I think this is a very easy round to side with Judge D'Amato as the out judge here. For all the reasons you said, it was. I think he's got higher output. He's landing harder. He's leaving more damage behind. I think there's not a whole lot that's happening when Negumereanu is trying these grappling and clinching scenarios. He's just not gaining a whole lot. Who's getting closer to ending this round?
And it's
or ending this fight in this round? It's Nzechukwu.
And it's even a situation where Mark Smith separates them in
Yeah.
this clinch. So it's like he's right there, and he wants to make sure the judges have something to score. As far as when we talk to refs, that's something that they do think about, or at least we're told that. McDonald told us that.
Kevin McDonald?
Yeah,
I don't recall that offhand.
yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 years since we spoke with him.
yeah. He was meant.
I should go back and listen to that one.
His trigger later in the fight becomes quicker because someone's got to start fighting.
Yeah. Okay. Now I
So-
recall that. Yeah. Absolutely.
So maybe he's right there. Maybe this impact just isn't that good.
Yeah. I don't know.
With
It's
these
hard
knees.
to say.
So
But I think it's very easy to. There's a lot of reasons that you would say that
Oh, yeah.
this should be a Kennedy and Nzechukwu round. So I'm a little surprised as well that Judge D'Amato was the only one to see it this way. I think Judge Weeks is a solid judge, and I think Doug Crosby has been doing this a long time. I'll say that. But yeah, I'm a little surprised too. But yeah, we'll again side with the out judge D'Amato here. So what does that mean for
another Couchside Override.
How often do we give 2 Couchside Overrides to the same judge in the same fight?
Not often.
I
no.
can't remember a time where we did it. I mean, we've only been doing this since last year. We kind of started the Couchside Override at the beginning of last year. But yeah, this might be the first time, actually. So what we're really saying is we're completely overturning the fight.
Oh, yeah.
And I think at the very least, this ought to have probably been a draw, if anything. Like, it shouldn't be a win for Negumereanu. I wouldn't go as far as to say robbery, because I think in round one, like I said, I think
Round
it's
one's,
close enough.
yeah,
I think it's close
output
enough. I think it's close enough that you can make that argument here. So, I think you can almost say it's. I don't want to go for the R word. It really should have been a draw or a win for Nzechukwu, though. That's what I will say. I think this is one of the
Wrong fighter won.
I think this is one of the worst decisions we see at the UFC level. Actually,
Okay.
I think it's fair to say, and only because of round
Of
2,
one
not
round.
round
Yeah.
1.
Of one round.
I think realistically this should be at least a draw, but you and I have both scored this as a win for Nzechukwu. So it's unfortunate it went this way, but unfortunately that is what we had.
And Mark Smith did take the point for the finger eye poke.
He did.
Gave enough warnings.
Well, yeah, Nzechukwu
So-
had a lot of warnings. I think we really need to also impress upon people how much we, in particular, would love to see warnings be just what you got in the back and then penalize them, especially for your eye pokes. I'm a huge proponent of the eye pokes being penalized right away, because I think that's something that needs to be like no tolerance. There's so much damage that can happen off of eye pokes to a fighter's long-term health and their ability in the fight. Like, it's not okay to allow that to happen just like one time. You want to get with it with even low blows, especially cage grabs. Fine. All right. One thing at a time. I'll fight my battle over eye pokes for as long as I have to until actually it happens. And for the record, Kennedy Nzechukwu is from Nigeria. So I want to make sure I shout out the man's nation, because we thought he should have won. Everyone should know where he's from.
Yes.
Moving on to another split decision from the prelims was this was from the early prelim section. The Ludovic Klein getting a win over Devontae Smith. Again, split decision here with 3 different scores, 30-27, 29-28, and then 29-28 the other way. We're talking about rounds 2 and 3 here as the contested rounds. So, Dan, what is happening in round 2?
Round 2, Smith comes out and just starts spamming head kicks.
Like it's UFC 4.
And the commentary is,
on PlayStation
is eating it up. They're loving it, especially Joe Rogan. I'm like, these don't look all that effective.
He didn't say he heard him.
Look to be catching a lot of arm, and Klein's not giving much of a reaction like it hit him. So I mean, I didn't score those with that much effect. I think Klein lands some good shots to force Smith back against the fence, and from there he lands a couple knees to the body. On the feet, I think Klein's landing some good leg kicks, solid elbow against the cage. I really don't see much effective offense from the Smith side, besides maybe we didn't have a great angle on the head kicks. Maybe those were pretty effective in someone else's perspective, but not from me. I think it's 10-9 Klein.
Yeah, I think it's 10-9 Klein too. Yeah, I think it's a close enough round. I wouldn't go crazy on Judge Tony Weeks being the out judge in this one. Incidentally, the 3 judges on this fight were the same ones that were on the previous fight we just talked about. Judges Crosby, D'Amato, and Weeks. So that was the team that they decided to put together a few times. And what did we get? 2 split decisions with 2 different rounds that were split. Interestingly,
this one with 3 different scores.
Yeah, with 3 different scores here. I mean, hey, it happens. It totally happens. You know that. But yeah, I'm okay with it going the other way. I wouldn't jump down Tony Weeks' throat or anything for it, but yeah, I think the majority got it right here. Crosby and D'Amato seeing it for Ludovic Klein. Really quick, just thinking of Joe Rogan here with these head kicks. Do you think he's ever seen the Rockettes? And if he has, or if he ever does, do you think he'll just go crazy every time they kick?
He's just in there.
She hurt him. I would pay money to watch him go see the Rockettes. No, I wouldn't.
They're not telegraphing any of these.
I know. Oh, man. Yeah, Joe Rogan. He's a guy. Round 3 of this fight as well, though, is split. So, Dan, why are we talking about round 3?
I think this is one of those rounds where it's tale of 2 halves, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat, not completely.
All right.
Smith throws another. He starts the round throwing these head kicks again, but again they're blocked, so I really don't see much effect.
Oh.
Then Klein hurts Smith to the body. Smith completely backs off, starts getting pushed against the cage. He's getting attacked, landing good shots against the fence, good effective strikes to the head and the body. As the round goes on, Smith, he starts working his 1-2, which is his best combo. If you look at his past fights, the 1-2 is lightning fast. He landed it a couple times solidly.
A lot of people like 1-2s.
But I'm this guy's when I was watching it, this is like, wow, that's very, very sharp. It's just one bang, a bang. It's very fast. But anyway, I don't think Smith was ever able to overcome what Klein did early because, even though Klein's output slowed, he was still landing throughout the rest of the round.
So you sided with Klein?
I ran out of gas on that sentence.
You did. I was going to say, what are you doing here? You just fell asleep or what?
Woo! Ran out of breath.
Yeah. Did you have a water? You okay?
Yeah. No, my
Take a nap?
I got that Masvidal gas. Anyway,
10-9
Klein.
10-9 Klein.
Yeah.
There we go. I also had 10-9 Klein. I do think the early work was strong enough that it was kind of a harder thing to overcome, especially when he is still getting his offense in here and there. So yeah, I think it's definitely the better score. But I think it's defensible to give this round to Smith for sure.
Yeah, I'm okay with Smith getting this round.
Let's put it this way. Of the 4 rounds we just talked about with these 4 individuals, I think this one certainly isn't the one that tops round 2 in Nzechuku Negamurianu.
No.
But I think it's probably second in the pecking order. But it doesn't quite cross the Rubicon into the area where we're like, gee, I don't know if we can defend this one as well. I think this is fine.
Yeah.
So, so this, again, the outjudge here actually was once again Sal D'Amato. So 3 out of 4 times, judges Crosby and Tony Weeks were just not seeing the same thing that Sal D'Amato was necessarily. But we were. So what does that mean for Judge D'Amato?
Man, he hit the 3-peat tonight. Another Couchside Override.
That is, I can't think of a time where we gave one judge 3 Couchside Overrides in a night.
Yeah, I can't recall it.
It's got to be one of the first times.
I mean, this is also one of the first time we've had 11 rounds.
Yeah, 11 rounds, by the way. I mean, there were a lot of rounds. How many rounds were scored in this one? I actually didn't
31.
31. That is an incredibly high number for a UFC event. It's just we don't really see it too often. We had long fights. We had 2 5-round fights go the full distance. There's 10 rounds right there off the bat. And then we had a bunch of split decisions and things like that. We only had a couple early finishes as well. So 2 round 1 stoppages. That was it.
We've seen the unanimous percentages has been kind of steady at like 65% the past few events.
Which is lower than typical. Like usually we're looking at like the 70 to 73% range. So it's a little bit lower than I think a judges would typically be more comfortable with. But this also does include things like 10-8-9 splits.
Right, yeah.
So those can be obviously very challenging and inconsistent anyway as the calibration continues, right? I'm speaking for judges there. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, there is one more split decision that we have to talk about. And this one only had 1 round. This was kind of like your typical, turning point round of a fight. It often ends up being round 2, as is the case in Marina Rodriguez getting the win over Yan Xiaonan. 29-28 all the way, like I said, round 2. What happens in round 2 after Yan had won round 1?
Yeah, this was a really close round. Both ladies were slugging it out on the feet, exchanging good combos. I think early there's a slight edge to Yan. I think she's getting nice counters off every time Rodriguez lands a solid combo. She's answering with at least 1 punch back, and I don't see it as much the other way, at least early. About halfway through, Yan gets a takedown, lands some pitter-patter shots, but Rodriguez is quick to get back up, lands a knee to the body, gets her own clinch against the cage, lands a couple punches. I think it's in the final 30 seconds where the round is decided for me. On the clinch break, Rodriguez lands a solid elbow and then lands a right hand just before the round ends. And I think these 2 strikes put it over for me in a razor-thin round.
Yeah, it's a close round for sure. I had difficulty kind of figuring out which way I wanted to side with, and when I watch these, and I'm sure you do the same thing, because we know the judges have to write something down immediately. I try to write something down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I did side with Rodriguez. I don't know that I was necessarily right or wrong. I think this is a really, really close fight, and I think it's a very hard one for anyone to feel like they were wronged. So yeah, I think it's really just a matter of perspective. Whether you were Mike Bell and Ron McCarthy, who ended up seeing it for Rodriguez, and again, super close fight, or Derek Cleary seeing it for Yan Xiaonan. I don't have a problem either way. One lady won, the other one went home disappointed, but I think you can make a strong case for either one. Yeah,
Yan even had some decent leg kicks to start the round. So
yeah, it's a tricky one. Unfortunately, it didn't go her way, but this does set up Marina Rodriguez for potential strawweight title shot down the line.
Yeah, and since she already beat Esparza, she should probably just jump her right away.
Yeah, I know you like to beat that drum. But yeah, so we ended up siding with the majority here. Again, judges Bell and McCarthy. But yeah, it is what it is. Moving on, we do have 2 more fights, and now we're at the co-main and the well, not the co-main, but we're at the main card fights that went the distance here. And it's going to be a lot of 10-8 conversation that we're going to be having over the rest of this show. And so we'll kind of get back to that central theme that we were talking about before of, gosh, what is an 8 versus a 9 anymore, right? It's a hard thing for especially you and I sitting at home to figure out. And we're a little more knowledgeable about these things than people sitting at home saying, this should be an 8. How would you know? Like, it's just not the way things are done these days. So
yeah.
We'll be starting with Bryce Mitchell over Edson Barboza. This was the clearest of unanimous decisions, 30-27, 30-26, and 30-25. If there were 5 judges, there would also be 30-24 and 30-23.
Oh,
because it's descending order.
I am glad you brought that up real quick.
Because are you pro 5 judges now?
No. I wanted to mention. I think we can officially put to bed all the talk of why don't we have the judges watching the back on TV, or why don't we have 3 cage side and 2 in the back watch on TV, because things like technical difficulties happen and you lose your feed.
Yeah.
And if you are a professional where your score actually matters and determines the outcome of this fight, you cannot score around where you miss 12% of it. So
look, I think we can probably solve the technical difficulties issue. Tony Ferguson should just not be allowed near cables when they're broadcasting a fight. I mean, I can't confirm that this is what happened, but my mind did go there in that, like, what was it, like probably like a straight minute that we lost it. I was like, I wonder where Tony Ferguson is tonight. I hope he's doing well and not tripping over things. But yeah, we are talking about rounds 2 and 3 as potential 10-8s. In this fight. So, Dan, start with round 2. Why is this such a lopsided round that we might be saying 10-8?
Well, Mitchell gets him on the ground and keeps it there. landing some good shots, really shut Edson down. Pretty much a one-sided round. And let me say, this is before when I was trying to weigh damage to be part of my 10-8 calibration.
Oh, I see. You actually changed mid-event.
Mid-event.
Oh,
yes.
well, this is confusing.
So, like, I'm like, okay, so we're giving 10-8s on where the damage is really not that high. Okay, let's see how we keep going, and then I was just thrown completely off.
Okay.
The longer it went, I was I'm just going back to how the criteria is written, and that's how I got on the Colby 10-8. It's a one-sided round, but I really don't think the damage is there. I mean, he's punching him. He does cut him a little bit with an elbow, I think. But I didn't think the damage was there to get to 10-8. I would score this at 10-8 if I didn't need damage.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I this is why I think getting rid of the ability to give 10-8s unless damage is there is kind of problematic. It definitely does not help the grappler very much. I hear arguments all the time from my crazy idea, and I'll call it a crazy idea as much as I still stand by it and love it, that we could go to 3-minute rounds, but we will do more rounds so that there are more to score. I don't know where judges sit. If you hate it, tell me you hate it. That's fine. I don't care. It's never going to change anyway. I don't have that kind of pull. But
I would do it if there was 12 rounds.
One thing,
or 10 rounds.
Okay, I mean for like a title fight or something like that. But the reason I bring this particular idea up is the fact that I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, it doesn't help the grappler because they have to stand up all the time." Da, da, da. If they're a good enough grappler, they can probably get it down anyway. And we just don't see as much extended periods of the ground where it ends up leading to a submission. I mean, case in point, this fight where we have Bryce Mitchell, who's an excellent grappler, still had 5 minutes to try and finish off Edson Barboza down there and couldn't do it every time. It just didn't happen, and I don't know. I really just don't have necessarily as much of an issue with what that happens with the grappler here in my crazy idea, because obviously people don't care about it in this situation because this should be a 10-8. I mean, it should be. The criteria as written says you can make it that way. Judges Derek Cleary and Doug Crosby went that way. And I have a feeling, and I will not speak for Derek Cleary here, but because I don't know what he thinks on this, but it does seem to me he is scoring these 10-8s based on the criteria as written, right? Like, I mean, this isn't the only one that he gave without.
I mean, I guess you could maybe make that argument because he's bleeding. He did hit him with the elbow.
That's fine, so, but just observationally looking at it, it looks like he is using the criteria as written to justify his score, which, I mean, that is not wrong. If you have written down criteria and you could justify it, that doesn't make you wrong. But based on the norms that we've kind of seen, this feels like it really ought to be a 10-9 round. So that was the way I went, just like you did. Mm-hmm. As much as a lopsided and dominant round it was. So that was a round in the bank for Sal D'Amato again. Dan, 4 rounds for Sal D'Amato as the outjudge. We're on the what is this called? I'm forgetting.
Couchside Overrides. Seth's getting 4 in one night.
God, this he's gonna have to get something about. What do we call that? Is that like a grand slam or like we need a grand override?
It's the golden sombrero in baseball.
But that's bad. The golden sombrero is bad. The golden sombrero is
bad.
We'll
have to come up with something.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We have nothing good tonight. Sorry. Whatever it is, it'll be in the mail.
Golden scorecard?
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Round 3, though. We've got another potential 10-8 here.
Yeah, another. I mean, it was another mauling of a round. I just don't think damage is there. And at this point...
So we're having the same conversation, basically.
Yes,
right?
the same thing. I mean, I do think Barboza's fighting back. He attacked a triangle, at least.
He's maybe working toward earning his 9.
Like, at least he's not Jorge Masvidal and, just kind of dead in the water. He was offensive somewhat. But again, it's just Bryce on top, landing some good shots and just owning the grappling. Again, domination and duration, I think 10-8 is very good.
Which again, Derek Cleary had it for Mitchell as a 10-8. So yeah, I think because we're talking about 2Ds here, it certainly seems this way, right?
Yep. And again, at this point in the night, I am looking for damage to get to 10-8.
Yeah. in your journey,
in my journey to find my 10-8 compass.
Yeah.
in step, but it's not right now.
But yeah, see, you had the 9. I also had the 9 because this I would say this is the harder of the two to give the 8. If you can only give one 8, you give it to round 2 as opposed to round 3. So yeah, I'm with you, and we are both with judges Crosby and D'Amato here. So no 5th Couchside Override for Judge D'Amato. He's actually done being the out judge for our show. So that 4 is gonna have to do it for Sal. In this case, we are moving on now to our final fight, which is the co-main event of the evening, and what was also another very lopsided beatdown. How often do we have these like 2 5-round fights that are just lopsided beatdowns for 5? It was basically the last hour and change was just like, let's just watch a guy get beat to heck and not be able to fight back enough to actually try to win, even if they're trying. Which was the case with Renato Moicano in his very lopsided loss to Rafael dos Anjos. Round 4 and 5 are what we're talking about. At this point, RDA is up 30-27. He's already locked up a decision no matter what happens, and I think this is the point where we're even starting to talk about, hey, maybe the doctor should stop it, maybe the corner should stop it, maybe the ref should stop it. The corner is the only one who I think really ought to have stepped in based on the norms of the sport, because the doctor's just evaluating whether he can see and is good enough to continue, and he certainly looked good enough to continue based on the bar that they usually give in combat sports. I was surprised that
New York would have stopped it.
New York probably would have stopped
it. They screwed Nate Diaz out of a beautiful comeback victory. But what can you do?
There's the weigh in from the 209 contingent of our show. But yeah, I didn't expect the corner to stop, or excuse me, the doctor to stop it. I really didn't see a reason for them to do it based on the way it's typically done in Nevada. So when I saw Anik and all them talking about it, I'm like, really? You think this is the one that's going to do it?
Well, Mark Goddard was the most concerned of all.
He was, but that's his job. He's doing his job to a T.
Yeah.
That is not a problem there. Mm-hmm. And I have no problem with the way Mark Goddard did the job as far as evaluating the fighter and giving him opportunities to continue and not like that. He even said at the beginning of before round 5, you got 30 seconds to show me something, I'm going to stop it, which is appreciated. The one thing I will say, and I do not fault Mark Goddard himself for this in any way, but I do think there ought to be a lower bar for referees to be able to stop a fight when it's very clearly just not going that way. And he really didn't look like he was in a great way. I wish the bar was just lower. It's not. That's not how referees typically do this in this sport. So, if I'm criticizing anything, I'm criticizing the entire idea of how things are refereed. And I do that as someone who has never trained in it. So please take that with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. But I guess I would just like there to be a little bit more conscious effort to protect fighters from themselves, because they just don't, and corners certainly aren't, which they're the ones who are most culpable. They need to do something.
Yeah, I agree, the corner. But I also, if you listen to the dialogue between the doctor and Mark Goddard, mm-hmm. the doctor's like, yeah, it's justifiable to stop it if you want. I mean, it's up to you. What do you want to do?
But you know what? He's looking for a specific thing.
And then Mark's
as
like,
a referee,
he's like, just tell me, can he see out of his eye or not? And he's like, oh yeah, he can see.
And that's what it is. I mean, that's the job. But that kind of feeds into what I'm saying. I wish that there was more to it. Like a doctor ought to have a little bit more leeway to even say, like, he could see, but this fighter is not. He's not able to continue. In my medical opinion, he cannot defend himself as well as he should. Which is you have to be able to defend yourself. If you're not defending yourself, you can't fight, as far as I'm concerned.
And Chael said something on the post fight, which I tend to agree with somewhat, at least in this specific situation.
What's that?
When he said, you stop the fight the second your fighter no longer has a chance to win.
Yes, I did hear him say that. I think that is when a corner ought to be able to step in. But they don't do that because they always think there's just that one punch that's going to change it.
That one punch.
And I get it.
And actually in this 5th round, yeah, it's kind of close. But
we'll get to it. Let's start with round 4. Round 4, this is the only one we're talking about as an 8-9 debate. Because, and I misspoke before, that he was up 30-27. He was up 30-26 because round 3 was a unanimous 10-8.
Yeah.
So this fight's not changing on the cards at all. But round 4, what is happening in this round that we might give a 9 instead of an 8 or vice versa?
When Moicano comes out, he seems to have a little bit of a burst of energy. as Bisping states, he goes, yeah, you get a minute off, you'll have a decent.
He had a little more than a minute too.
Decent gas. Oh yeah, he did. He did have much more.
Yeah, Bisping said a minute, but I had that thought. I was like, it really was more like a minute and a half. He actually had a little bit extra time because the doctor eval.
Yeah, I thought he had some good success on the feet up until he got taken down again, and then from there it's just all Dos Anjos. He busts him open with an elbow near the end of the round. Good cut on his head. I just don't think RDA did enough up to that point to get to an 8. I don't mind a 10-8 at all. Because it really is a one-sided round. I just think Moicano did enough in the first minute, and I don't think RDA really pushed hard enough towards that finish to get there.
So first off, I am not surprised in any way that Mike Bell, the greatest advocate for 10-8s on the judging circuit, the traveling judging circuit, gave the 10-8 here. He was the lone 10-8. But I sided with him. I watched it again today, and I am a little more ambivalent to it than I was when I watched it live. And like kind of, I could go either way.
Okay.
Yeah. There's your
Thank you.
Merriam-Webster education for the day. Dan either loves or hates when I throw words out there that he's not used to. I don't know. And if you're not used to them, I'm sorry. I sometimes I throw words out there that I know because I write. This is what I do. But anyway, I did go for the 8 here, but again, I think I could go a lot more either way with it in this round, having watched it again. I do think damage you can make an argument for here, and I think that's why it's a little easier for me to say this is an 8. But yeah, there's a lot of the round where RDA is just kind of on him and not doing as much. So he's got position. He doesn't even have like crazy good position, but he's on top and he's in control. And then there is a little bit of a back and forth, like we said in the beginning too. So, did Moicano earn the 9? I don't know. I guess there's debate there. I went for the 8. I will stick with the 8, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's the right call or not. But I mean, again, who do I know? I'm not trained anyway. You saw it for a 9 or an 8? I forget.
9.
You saw it a 9. Okay, so you were with Chris Lee and Ron McCarthy here. Yeah. I think that's fine. So no overrides here. Sorry, Judge Bell. I tried. But round 5. Now we're actually talking about a potential split round here. After at the very best, we have Moicano is down 40-35 on the cards. That's the best he is able to do at this point. There's no way to win a decision. It's mathematically impossible. What happens here in this round?
He gets told he has 30 seconds to turn it around, or it's gonna get stopped.
Right, like we said.
So, the 30 seconds pass, and really nothing yet has happened. So the fight continues.
But he's fighting. He's in it, but mostly because RDA is not doing much.
RDA seems to have either lost some steam on his punches, or whether it's fatigue or just taking a bit off. It doesn't really matter.
I took it as it became more of a sparring match. I think it was Dean Thomas had said that.
That's what they were kind of saying.
That made a lot of sense to me. It's just we saw a fighter who was fighting one way and then he was fighting differently.
So, I mean, Moicano is landing some solid shots. A few times I was getting nervous that he might actually make the comeback. And I was like, oh my God, this guy, 4 days notice. He's going to knock out RDA after taking a beating for 4 rounds.
Well, that would be epic.
Where everyone's saying the fight should have been stopped.
Yeah, and this would totally shut up the arguments that make quarter stoppages should come. But I
mean, uppercuts and hooks and jabs, getting really good reactions from RDA, and of course RDA is still landing punches throughout most of the round.
Both of them are landing a ton in this round.
I just don't think RDA is getting the same effect on his punches or impact, and it's because it seems like he's taking some off. But I thought Moicano was landing some really solid ones. I scored this one from Moicano.
I watched this round again today as well for this. It's twice that I got to watch this fight. I did score round 5 for RDA the first time. I think it's still a perfectly fine score. Having watched it again today, I think the later stages of the fight of the round where Moicano is landing, he is landing with very good effect, like a strong effect. Again, I'm almost positive the reason this is happening is because RDA took some steam off and kind of was trying not to finish the fight, but maybe we're just like coasting, and he's like, I don't want to hurt this guy. Although, it'd be nice if they're just trying, let's say the narrative that he's just trying to be nice and he's just trying to let him kind of get to the finish line. Maybe just work the body a little more or work the leg. Don't hit him in the head.
Yeah.
If that's the goal. That's just my
or
two
take him
cents.
down and run out the clock.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that.
He struggled to get in the takedown.
He did. So you know what? I'm sure there was at least some form of, I'm getting tired of hitting this guy in the face all this time. So that could tire me out. But yeah, I think probably there is a stronger case to be made for Moicano. I'll stand by my score, which was a 10-9 for Dos Anjos. But yeah, I think probably you can make the case a little stronger there. But I think that it's either way. It's fine. Judges Bell and McCarthy are the ones who saw it for Moicano. So I was with Chris Lee here. And that is it for our epic 11 round from one event edition of Contested Rounds. There were some finishes, at least. I mean, it made us not seem like it, but there were.
The thing is, none of our contested rounds were from fights that ended early.
No, it was all decisions.
So, in 6 fights, right? How many fights? 7 fights? No, 8 fights. There was 13 fights.
There was 13 fights, yeah.
So 8 fights.
8 decisions.
So out of 8 decisions, we had 11 rounds.
Yeah. It was a lot. Judges were worked pretty hard in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think there was kind of some. I think there were some times where maybe judges should have decided with Judge D'Amato a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like we said, we got 4. We got 4 contested rounds where it was him, or Couchside Overrides. Yeah, 5 finishes, 3 TKOs, 2 submissions. 2 of these fights ended in the first round. Dan, what was your favorite finish of the fight, which was not on the outline until the last 20 seconds?
Yes, I forgot I didn't put it on there.
I was waiting for you.
Kevin Holland, again, the TKO win over Alex Oliveira was my favorite, mainly because Holland was not his normal jokey type self. He seemed to be taking this fight a bit more serious, and it was kind of scary in that second round because the first round was very competitive. I think Oliveira probably won it.
He did. He won it unanimously.
So he came out, smashed him in the head with a right hand, dropped him, and then just went to town with, some vicious elbows. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to use the word explosive when I was describing the finish from Kevin Holland, but then I remembered that Alex Cowboy Oliveira has actually been hit by shrapnel from a grenade in his life, and some sort of weird thing that happened in Brazil. So then I remembered that, and I felt it was in bad taste, so I didn't use it. But I will say that at least the thought had crossed my mind, and then I thought better of it. So yeah, just be careful about using the word explosive when you're talking about Cowboy Oliveira. But anyway, and obviously a fun finish for
yeah.
Sure.
And I think if he takes this sport seriously, I think he can be a problem.
I think he does take the sport seriously. I think a lot of the chatting in the rounds and chatting in the fights is just his way of doing. Look, your favorite fighters are Nick and Nate Diaz. What do they do the entire fight?
No. That's not what I mean. I think he can have fun in the cage and talk. The thing is where he kind of has that BJ Penn. Spencer Kite pointed this out. He kind of has that BJ Penn thing where he has all this natural talent. Doesn't feel he has to work as hard. Mm-hmm. As they were saying, he wanted to smoke weed, and so he didn't want a UFC contract after Contender Series because he didn't want to be in the USADA pool. So like things like that. How serious is he about this career?
Okay. Well,
and I think if he does put the work in, he can be as scary. Or he can be, a scary contender. So.
I think he is a terrifically talented fighter, and he's still young enough that he's got a lot of time to grow in the sport and to make a run in the sport. Now he's in probably the best fit of a division for him. I think they said on the broadcast that he has the record for longest reach at welterweight is like 81 inches or something like that.
That's long.
Every time you're setting a record, that's pretty good.
Jalen Turner, was he in the 80s for 155?
I don't recall.
I thought he had an 80-inch.
I don't know, but they do call him the Tarantula for a reason.
He was awesome too.
It's not because he's a Spider-Man.
And while on any other night, I think that might have been your favorite. But what was tonight? What was your favorite for this?
As any time such an event happens, when Greg Hardy is knocked out, as was the case here against Sergey Spivak, that will always be my favorite finish. He is now on a 3-fight losing streak. This was a TKO. It went down in the books as a TKO, but it sure seemed like he was completely out of it as he was being kind of attended to right after. It didn't seem to know what happened. Which, look, I'm not rooting for brain damage necessarily, because that's not cool, and especially we've seen a lot of former football players who've had brain damage that have caused damage to those around them and themselves, so I certainly don't wish for that. Am I upset that he has now lost 3 fights in a row and his UFC contract is up? No, I'm in absolutely no way upset about that. I would be just fine if he did not re-sign with the UFC for one reason or another and went somewhere else that maybe I wouldn't have to pay as much attention to him.
Yeah, except when he wins the PFL heavyweight tournament and
He's not going to win the PFL heavyweight tournament because that will be won by a middleweight who doesn't want to cut anymore.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably how it'll go. Oh, Bruno Capelozza was a solid winner of PFL heavyweight last year.
All right.
And on the unfortunate, if you recall, night where his father had passed away, or like in the lead up to it, no one had told him. The poor guy.
Yeah, no, Jesus.
Jeez, I mean, $1 million certainly can help you comfort a little bit, but I'm sure he'd rather give it all back to have his father.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but yeah, so. Don't be dissing PFL.
I'm not
they got decent talent.
I wasn't I was getting more to the point of, wow, he may win $1 million from getting cut from the UFC, signing the PFL's tournament, and just going on to win it.
Nah, it ain't happening.
All right.
Yeah, nah, it's not happening. He doesn't have enough skill. He doesn't.
But in the heavyweight division, do you need that skill?
Evidently.
I mean,
He's lost 3 in a row, so I would say yes, you need enough skill.
But at any given time, he can land a shot.
Sure. So can the other guy.
If he had the same skill level and it was a flyweight, he wouldn't even be in the, he'd probably be winless.
I am, well, yeah, that's true, but I'm totally dubious of the fact that he would actually make any sort of run or sustain. He'd have to win all of them over the course of the year. I don't think he's going to luck his way into it if he's not skilled in.
Okay.
And he obviously is a little chinny here too, so yeah, I just don't see it. So I won't miss you, Greg Hardy, if you're gone.
Watch him end up being on this next season of Tough. They're doing heavyweights.
You know what? Fine. I don't watch Tough anyway, so whatever. That's fine.
I think you need to get eyes on this. Why you wouldn't watch Nunes is going to be the coach?
So
I thought you were a big fan of Nunes.
I mean, I certainly have a great respect for her in the sport, and I still think it's super cool that we got to watch her in her early stages of her career training at the same gym.
Right.
That was cool, but
you don't want nothing to do with Tough.
I literally just I actually hope that The Ultimate Fighter goes away. I want it to be gone for good.
I wish that they would do more drama and less of the fight stuff.
Yeah, we're different.
The house drama.
You and I are different people.
Yeah,
that's okay. I still love you, but yeah, we're different people.
Like the reason I'm a Nate Diaz fan is because he was writing 209 all over the wall inside the house.
I never watched that.
And then he told
season.
Carol Parisian, he's like, I don't care who you are, let's fight right now.
I've never watched. I've never watched any of the seasons that were earlier than season 9. The first season I ever watched was 9.
Yeah, that's probably why. That's probably why you don't like it.
Yeah,
as much because I came up.
Well, the first season I started watching was Michael Bisping was the coach. That was going against Dan Henderson, and I will say that was an effective tool in getting a new UFC fan such as myself to be like, yeah, Michael Bisping's got to lose. That guy's annoying. I want Dan Henderson to win. This is how I talked back then. I didn't really, but we can pretend I do.
Yeah.
Let's pretend I talk that way usually. I don't know.
All right, we've gotten kind of off.
Now we have. We got to finish this up. We got to look ahead to a busy weekend with both of the, I guess we could call them major promotions. There's one major and then one lesser major. UFC, of course, is Saturday night, but Friday night we have Bellator 276. So let's start there real quick. It is a featherweight headliner between Mads Burnell and Adam Boritz, who I've been a big fan of Boritz for a while. So it's nice to see him get this fight. Mads Burnell has been doing really well. I think I would pick Mads Burnell to win. I'll say this is a 5-round fight. I'm almost positive because they do 5-round main events now in Bellator. I would say Burnell decision. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I don't know how much you care about this because you're not a huge Bellator guy, but
I probably won't watch.
All right, that's fine.
I'm gonna go. I'll agree with you. Mads Burnell decision.
Just say everything. Just say you're right, Scott. You know everything.
You're right. You're the man.
I am. Thank you. And this one, it's in St. Louis, so this would be a Missouri judges situation. Now, we haven't had a major event come to Missouri in a while. I'm not sure which judges actually are kind of typical of Missouri. I'm not sure which ones have worked there in the past, the traveling sort, but it stands to reason that some of the Bellator favorites are going to go out there if they're licensed in Missouri. Someone like, maybe Doug Crosby will be there, or maybe, Dave Hagen or even like some of the kind of guys who are based in the East Coast, like Eric Colon or Brian Miner, maybe we'll see out there. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of speculating here, but I imagine it'd be like that. So hopefully we'll get solid judging in Missouri for Bellator 276.
Yeah, I'm kind of actually curious why Mads Burnell they didn't put this fight in Dublin. I know he's not Irish, but I mean it's kind of right there.
It's kind of right there, so I just do it there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't speak to it. I mean, Borges is also from I forget where, Hungary, I want to say.
Yeah, so it's weird. I mean, who knows?
Maybe you could check
Whatever.
that while I go over this. But yeah, I think he's from Hungary.
I guess he fights at Extreme Couture's where Bernal is, so maybe that could be why. But
I mean,
who knows?
who knows? I mean, that's Nevada. We're talking about Missouri. But anyway, yeah, Bellator, it's kind of a mixed bag as far as the fights that are of interest. But I would say the two that kind of jumped out at me, the co-main event is interesting with Phil Davis going against Julius Angliskis. Both of them lost fights recently to Vadim Nemkov. So I guess this is kind of the losers bracket from Vadim Nemkov, sort of, from the tournament. I mean, this is a good fight. Like, I think Angliskis is kind of an interesting, I guess I could still call him a prospect. I know he's getting kind of rushed here into the upper levels of Bellator just by virtue of there being, I would say, a smaller light heavyweight division. I don't think it's a lesser one, though. I think they actually have a very solid, comparable light heavyweight division to the UFC. It just doesn't have the depth.
Yeah, I guess at the top it's
I
kind
think
of
it's
close.
very
so,
comparable
yeah.
at the top. I mean, you talk about who's the champion of the UFC right now, Glover Teixeira. You know who has
Right.
wins over him? Phil Davis, who we're talking about right now, and Corey Anderson, who's fighting in the tournament, the Grand Prix championship fight against Vadim Nemkov next month. So they've got enough guys over there that have wins over the champion that it's like, okay, at least you can understand there's some parity.
Yeah, this is actually a crazy busy weekend, Scott.
A crazy busy week.
Crazy busy
for
weekend
what?
of fights, just fights in general.
Oh, okay.
We got Eagle FC is back. We got Kevin Lee versus Diego Sanchez.
Oh, Eagle FC. Yes, I see. Yeah, that's
think-
right. It's the 165-pound championship fight.
So that's pretty interesting.
Super lightweight. Bring it on.
Also John Salter's on Bellator as well.
Okay.
Ray-
Yeah, that's true.
Ray Borg's fighting again for Eagle. So-
Goichi Yamuchi is also on the Bellator one. He's fighting against Derek Anderson. That was another one I was interested in. I will say I'm to make my pick for Phil Davis. I am picking Phil Davis over Angliskis because I'll say decision.
Yeah, I'll go Phil Davis for the Mr. Wonderful.
And I'm going to say, you think he's going to get the Mr.
Yeah.
Wonderful, which he hasn't done since like his second UFC fight?
Yes.
Okay. That's ballsy, but all right. I actually interviewed Phil Davis last week. That'll be for the new feature that came out from for the Post that I have dubbed the post-fight interview. You like the
Yes.
name?
I like that name.
Thank you. I've been thinking about that one for a long time, actually. So I was glad to we have it's a Q&A feature. If anyone missed it, so every week I'm going to try to talk to. Well, not try to. I will be talking to someone in the MMA or even boxing or other combat sports world. Might expand from here and there. So keep an eye on that for the Phil Davis one. But yeah, I'm going to get Yamauchi over Derek Anderson here. I'm going to say Yamauchi second round TKO.
Okay. I like Derek Anderson.
All right,
Easier to say.
that's true. He also shares a name with former quarterback.
Is he as tall?
No.
Okay.
No.
Maybe up Yamauchi then.
No, he was very tall. Very, very good way to evaluate. By the way, hey, you know what? To make my pick, I'll say Kevin Lee wins too. By the way,
I think Kevin Lee wins. I think it wins it rather easily.
I do too.
So
So that's Friday night for Bellator. Saturday, we're finally here. The golden anniversary. UFC Vegas 50.
50.
Man, so many wonderful memories. I wish we had some like cheesy music to play in the background for this. But I mean, it's a solid main event here. Thiago Santos against Magomed Ankalaev at 205 pounds.
Yeah.
What's your inclination of this fight? What are you thinking?
I am thinking Ankalaev wins. I think the guy's ready to just go on a run. He's been on a run, but I feel he's ready to actually jump himself, into that title contention.
I think I would also pick
So-
Ankalaev. I'm going to say, because you didn't pick Method, I'm going to try and beat you to it. I'm going to say Ankalaev, third round TKO.
Okay. And actually, I just want to say Bellator is actually on Saturday night as well.
Oh, is it Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for fixing that.
Eagles on Friday.
Eagles Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I mixed that up then.
Invicta's also Wednesday. I don't know who's fighting.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Invicta, for sure.
We got a lot of.
They invaded
One
Kansas
FC's
again?
also
Is it still
fighting
Kansas?
Friday.
Invicta?
I don't think. Let me see where they're at real
Oh,
quick.
well, 1FC, who the heck knows? I don't even know what time of day that is taking place. That's probably in the morning.
We got PFL Challenger Series on Friday. LFA, Eagle, 1. And then Invicta
So
46 is in, let's see where, it's in Kansas.
Is Pride fighting?
No Pride.
WEC? Is there a third is the third affliction event finally coming?
We got a title fight for Invicta. Karina Rodriguez versus Diana Torquato.
Okay. Well, I for one am super excited for Strikeforce.
I can't wait for Strikeforce Challengers.
It's
It's a good time.
Hey, that's where Luke Rockhold came through. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Because I remember because I totally underestimated him when he went against Jacare and he won. And I was like, he's this guy who hasn't fought in a while from
that
Challenger
fight,
Series.
yeah.
I had money on Jacare.
Oh.
That didn't work out. But the reason I had so much money that I was able to throw on Jacare in that one, this was in the days where I was betting a little bit, and I don't do that anymore. But
Don't even say it.
what?
Don't say it.
Don't say what?
That is because you take all my money
No.
at the gym.
Oh, no, I wasn't even going there, sir. But if
Okay.
you want to remind everybody, now it's on tape, so that's good. No, what I was going to say is, you know how I won a lot of money on this particular betting website I was using at the time? I picked Tito Ortiz to beat Ryan Bader in like one of the biggest upsets that like happened in the last decade. I picked that one. I bet that one,
good
and
on
I
you.
won on that one.
Wow.
That was fun. It was not fun losing on Luke Rockhold though with that fight.
Okay.
But anyway, we got to wrap this up. Let's we're into Vegas, of course. We're gonna have the same top Nevada judges we have, I'm sure. Which by the way, yeah, if it's Saturday. For Bellator, not everybody can go. That's going to be on, Vegas shows. So who knows which one? I mean, there's always, some guys who they end up kind of doing one rather than the other. You often see guys that are based on the East Coast, like a Brian Miner or an Eric Colon, typically end up going to Bellator when it's kind of like it could go either way. So you never know. Other fights I'm looking forward to. I don't know. What are you looking forward to on this one?
I want to see Terrence McKinney back in there quickly.
Yeah, you do. It's a quick turnaround.
I mean, he's got a crazy tough test against Drew Dober.
If he passes it, though, what does that say about this kid? Wow.
Oof.
That would be impressive. You know what? I'm going to pick McKinney. I really am. I'm going to say McKinney, and I'm going to say decision. I think it's going to be tougher.
Yeah, I mean, Islam.
But I also said decision last time, and then he won in 2 minutes.
Here's the thing. Islam didn't have trouble with Dober, but he had trouble getting him out of there. And eventually he got him out.
Sure.
I mean, he just wear on a guy long enough. I don't know if McKinney has that. If it is grappling to do that.
Maybe he does.
Maybe he does. We really don't know.
We haven't seen enough.
We really don't know.
But what we've seen is really impressive.
I'm going to go with Dober for a decision.
Okay. I like the co-main event here, which is Marlon Moraes against Song Yadong.
Okay.
I like that one. Yadong is an interesting prospect. He's still a kid, basically, in the sport, too.
Oh, yeah. Is he even 25?
I believe he might just be 25.
Okay.
I can't remember offhand. Maybe you can look that one up too, since you didn't look up where Adam Borks is from.
Oh yeah. Oh, did you ask me?
You jerk! I did.
Oh, I wasn't.
I did. It's on tape. They heard it. I'm gonna. Moraes has been kind of hemorrhaging.
No, he's 24.
He's 24. Okay.
Yeah.
And Moraes has been hemorrhaging these losses lately, but I do think he's still better than the results are showing. So I'm actually gonna pick him over Song Yadong. Look, if he's gonna win, he's probably not gonna win a decision at this point. We haven't seen a lot of gas tank with him, so I'm gonna say he gets back on there with I'm gonna say a TKO first round.
Yadong TKO.
Okay, well, I can see that too.
No, I think it's gonna be late though, third round.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. If it gets to the third round, I feel like he's very susceptible to a finish. I'm super excited for another Alex Pereira fight going against Bruno Silva. I don't know if this guy is gonna win enough fights to get up there to challenge Israel Adesanya, but that obviously is a fascinating dynamic because it's somebody who has knocked out Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. So if he's able to kind of pass tests along the way, and this being one of them,
I'd be down to let Colby go take the belt from Izzy.
Colby Covington?
Yeah, let him go up.
How are we friends? What is wrong with you?
I mean, I don't mind. He's an interesting guy.
No, he's not. He makes everything up.
Yeah, I know. I kind of like the drama around it. I love it.
Again, we're different people, you and I. And then the other one I was looking forward to, I don't know if you have a pick on that one, but I'm going to say Pereira, round 1 knockout.
I'm hoping for Pereira because I want to see this rematch with Izzy at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm intrigued by that as well. And then Sadiq Youssef going against Alex Caceres. That should be a fun fight.
Alex Caceres is on a sneaky 5-fight win streak.
Yeah,
so
he's doing well.
I think he's going to keep it up. I'm going to go with him with a sub.
I'm going to go with Youssef by decision.
Alex Caceres rear naked choke, second round.
All right, fair enough.
And that does it for this episode of the Couchside Judges. 11 rounds. I am gassed. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, you almost ran out of juice in the middle there.
Woo! But I persevered.
You did. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back again next week, and enjoy a super busy week of fights.
Have a good night. Thank you.